It is a period in the country when the mood is not really setting. People are worried about the prices of petrol that they buy at the fuel stations, and the government is concerned about the state of the economy, and international ratings agencies have downgraded us. We are told that this downgrade that we're witnessing has never happened in the history of this country. What is the government going to do? My guest on Face to Face has an understanding of how to manage the economy and the petroleum sector. When we come back, I'll tell you who my guest is. My name is Umaru Sandamado, and you're welcome to Face to Face. My guest served as a Deputy Minister for Finance in the Rawlings administration. He served with George Sipayanki. He was a high-ranking member of the House of Parliament when the NDC went into opposition between 2001 and 2009. When Atta Mills won the elections of 2009, he made him Minister for Employment and Labour Relations. In fact, you can call him the finance minister that never was, because if you follow the news at the time, he was considered and tipped highly, but that never happened. Subsequently, he became the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. He has been for 16 years a member of parliament for Nabdam in the Upper East region. The Honorable Moses Asaga is my guest on Face to Face. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
What have you been up to? I read a very long, I recited a very long biography of you, but you've been very quiet, and actually we don't see much of you.
Oh yes, this is because, we have grown and we have mentored some of our former students, including Isaac Adongo.
Okay.
And he is from Bolgatanga in
That's a neighboring constituency.
That's a neighboring constituency, and I think so far so good. And we also have John Jinapo, who is also doing very well as one of the young people who are promising. So when you have these two, one for energy and one for finance,
you are fine.
You are fine.
You can go to sleep.
So I'm like Roger Miller, and they only come in during injury time.
I see.
Yes.
But what have you been up to? You left Parliament in 2017, is it?
No, I left MP 2017.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. You ceased to be MP after 2016. You didn't go back to Parliament.
Yes.
And so 2016 to now. So this is like 5 years.
Yes.
What have you been up to?
Well, I've been applying myself to what I best know, which is oil and gas and energy. So I do some bit of consultancy, not particularly in Ghana, but in some of the frontier countries that are now just discovering oil, and sometimes need your input as to how to couch their petroleum agreements, and especially local content, and how to build joint ventures between their indigenous companies and international companies.
I see.
So areas that I've made either presentation or assisted as a consultant, Senegal is one.
Okay.
They have discovered oil and gas. So I supported a company called SMP Offshore, and now they have a contract with Halliburton. I was in Mozambique about 3 years ago. I did the local content lectures for their companies. Tanzania, similarly. I've been following the crude oil production in Kenya, which collapsed because tallow oil had problems, and therefore we've put that on the back burner. But now very active in Uganda. Okay. Luckily enough, Total, which is now the operator of the Telenga field, have just signed their FID, which is the final investment decision last week. So it means more work is going to start.
So you're chopping international cash.
Yes, a little bit of it. And it comes not very consistent, but when it comes to you are happy.
It's good.
And just recently, a Dubai oil and gas trading company have nominated me to represent them in sub-Saharan Africa for long-term LNG and crude oil contracts.
So there's a lot of oil in your system. Let's talk about politics. What have you been up to? Did you just leave the NDC completely after the defeat of 2016?
No, after the defeat of 2016, I think I rather energized myself for the NDC, and especially for His Excellency John Mahama. So we have always been behind the scenes, doing all the advisory work. But if you care to know, I've been working mostly in Upper East region, and
your home region.
Yes, and I told the party, and everybody knows that we were going to deliver all the orphan constituencies, which were 3 by then. And I think come
so
2020...
this would be Timpani?
No, the orphan
ones at
yes.
Timpani. You
yes.
didn't have Timpani at the time. You took it back from the Deputy Attorney General.
Yes, so Timpani was one.
So I'm trying to list the 3
yes,
for you.
Zebila was one.
Mm-hmm. So you give it to Cletus Avoka.
Yes, and then Zebila was one.
So Zebila, Timpani.
And then we also had...
Binduri?
No, we also had Navrongo.
Yes, you go back Navrongo from Joseph.
Yes. So this kind of work was really, I chaired some of the functions and some of the strategic movement with my group, which we call UG. That's Unity Group of Upper East Region. So we are former appointees of John Mahama, so we came together to say, let's support the party.
How's your relationship with him like?
Oh, very, very cordial, because John, if I may call him that for now, was my classmate in Ghana Secondary School, Form 1 to Upper 6th Form. And we've maintained that cordial relation, not only as family friends, but almost as brothers. So on the sidelines, we are able to meet.
And you met in Parliament as well?
We were in Parliament together. He did 12 years, I did 16 years. We encouraged him to become the Vice President, and later on he became President. So I would say that all in all, we have really maintained very good relationship. Yeah.
Let's talk about petrol. You go to the fuel station to buy. I mean, when Kufuor was leaving in 2008, a liter of fuel was 1 cedi. Today, a liter of fuel is 7.4 cedis. And we are told by analysts that this figure could rise to 8 cedis. What is happening with the petroleum sector?
Yeah, I think that the petroleum sector needs some bit of consultation between the government and experts who had served in other administrations, for example. I think that when I was the CEO of the NPA, we managed 2 things successfully. The first one was that we decided to do a deregulation. So that
so it was under your tenure
yes, it was my
CEO of NPA that deregulation started with NPA.
Yes.
Explain that deregulation thing for us.
The deregulation was to come and mitigate debts that are incurred unnecessarily by government, because government was doing subsidy. So what happens is that the BDCs and the oil marketing companies would procure this at economic prices. But then as NPA and previous government, right from President Kwame Nkrumah through Liman, through whoever, Rawlings, nobody wanted to touch the deregulation, and therefore there was always subsidy. And we thought that at one point our subsidy came to almost about $200 million, for example.
And so this is government subsidizing for all manner of...
For all manner of people, So we thought that no, let's do the deregulation, and we should do the deregulation. And I had to do a forecast. I went to BP in London, and we did a 3-year forecast, and oil prices were not going to increase. So it means that it will cushion us right away, because in some cases the crude oil price rather went down. Just that when crude oil prices go down, the government would not do anything about it. And so when the President Nana Akufo-Addo's government came in, crude oil prices were really stable, but they still maintained a certain price.
So deregulation meant that when the price increases on the world market, it increases here in Ghana.
Yes.
And that if it goes down, it should also go down here.
Yes.
That was the concept of deregulation.
That was the concept of it. But beyond that, you need to have a cap. And the cap is that if it is really escalating, then government comes in to mitigate, the price to some extent. But we have rather seen that government rather put in some taxes on refined products at the pump. And again, they brought in the bust margin, which used to be 3 pesos, and they raised it to 6 pesos. Once you do that, then you are automatically increasing the price at the pump, when even the international crude oil price haven't changed.
But this is not an invention by them. This is something they came to meet you doing, and they just took it up and continued. Because And it has become the lazy approach that government uses to tax the liter of fuel. So because you can, you are secured and assured that you'll get the tax on the fuel, you're always taxing the fuel and leaving everything else. It's a lazy man's approach, we're told, but it's something they always do.
Yes,
you have been doing it too.
Yes, just like they complained that the NDC was doing it. And we told them, wait until you come into government. But you should also do it in such a way that it is bearable to all stakeholders, both the consumer and government that needs taxes. So if you increase bus margin from 3 to 6, that's almost 100%. It could have been 25%, 50%. So its effect would not be too much at the pump, So that's how it is done. And again, I said, as government, you must mitigate. So we have things like stabilization fund. We have the ESLA. All this was put in place so that when prices go up for fuel, you then go in and bring some of the stabilization fund or the ESLA that has accrued over years to cushion the good people of Ghana.
You have something at the MPA you call the petroleum price build-up.
Yeah.
Those are the elements of the price of a liter of fuel. And often you would find that the proper price of the oil itself is low, but you've slapped so many taxes. Walk us through some of the taxes and why our government decided to bring those ones. And in your estimation, which of these taxes or levies can be removed so that the build-up looks a bit flexible than it currently is?
Yes, as we just have already spoken, when you are looking at bus margin, that's a big chunk, when you...
And that's supposed to assist BOST in one way or the other?
Yes.
The state
yes, but BOST has a mandate, and BOST is a corporate entity, and is supposed to really work to generate its own revenue, because BOST is meant for transportation, of petroleum products. So if they were to be working like previously, they would not be needing 6. They could be having 4 cedis per liter.
It's a critical national asset, an emergency asset, if you like, that you cannot really, and if they need those things to keep them afloat, you need to have them.
Yes, BOST was incorporated to be a strategic reserve for petroleum products. But they decided to go into commercial and to compete with the BDCs, and even to have agreements with Tema Oil Refinery. So once you change your mandate and you add the fact that you can now be a BDC,
you're making profit.
So you are now making profit. And if you really efficiently run BOST, just like Chase is being run and other BDCs, then you shouldn't be looking for BOST margin.
What about the issue of other debt recovery levies that we have slapped on the price of a liter of fuel? Which of them?
It is the ESLA that we did.
ESLA is still there?
Yeah, ESLA is still there.
Is a third debt recovery levy?
Yeah, those things have become very complicated in the sense that during my time, we were able to pay the BDCs for subsidies to the tune of maybe 300 to 400 million cedis. Then this third debt and then Ghana Commercial Bank debt were all co-mingled. And that's when we came with the ESLA. So with the ESLA...
you put all of them under ESLA, Energy Sector Levies Act.
Yes, so that now we are charging a certain pesos per liter just for ESLA. And ESLA has accumulated for the last 6 years. So only God knows where the money is being taken to the extent that if prices on the international market have gone up, we cannot draw the stabilization to cushion Ghanaians.
There are analysts who worry that by March, we would be buying fuel for 8 cedis per liter.
Yeah.
Is that projection a fair one in your estimation? You think it will be lower or higher?
Well, the way the crude oil price is going, I'm sure today it's about $96 per barrel. When about maybe 3 months ago, it was like $60 per barrel. So based on that kind of acceleration, we could easily achieve the
achieve?
Yeah, the 8 cities.
I'm not sure it's a positive achievement.
No, it's not. So it's very, very negative. So we can hit the 8 cities. And what I'm saying is that conversely, our crude oil production have now seen an increase in revenue, which we didn't expect.
Yes, so explain that to us. Why is it that we produce oil in Ghana, and yet we are buying oil from abroad? What is the problem?
So let me just finish my point here. That if I were in government, what I would do is that this unexpected revenue that has come, which you can call bonus oil revenue, could now be shifted, to cushion the ex-pump prices, because they work in a converse manner.
But the two are being run differently.
They are not run differently. It's the same government.
Yeah, but the people who are exporting the crude are the different parts of the world, and those who are importing also are the different parts.
Yes, but
mostly BDCs do the importation. The government does the exportation.
Yes.
So how can the two work
but it's
together?
the same government.
We are told too that refining our crude will be impossible or something.
Yes. So what I'm still saying is that the basket for the revenue is the same. So the revenue comes to government, and it's government who must say that, look, I want to mitigate the suffering of the people because of the crude prices. So let me shave a bit of this one and then cushion the ex-pump prices. That is simple to do.
Are we making enough, though, to cushion the ex-pump prices?
I think we are making, because if you go and look at the statistics, I'm sure we could be earning about $300 million from crude oil revenue. But you were asking one question just now.
I was asking what the role of TOR, for instance, would be, considering that we have crude, we don't process it here, we export it separately, and we don't import. Why can't we use our own crude locally?
Yes, first of all, we have a problem with Tema Oil Refinery. And not until Tema Oil Refinery is put in place to be very efficient, because there are certain technical challenges. So we need a retrofitting. Retrofitting for Tema Oil Refinery, including desulfurization unit, can cost us about $200 million. So it is for us to say that, look, Tema Oil Refinery should be a joint venture with an international company, so that now we can do what we needed to do. But again, if we look at the initial production of the Jubilee, Tema Oil Refinery at full capacity is supposed to be about 60,000 barrels a day. So if we took our equity oil, which was just 10% of the total, we will not be able to meet Tema Oil Refinery capacity if it is at full. So all this were taken into consideration, and that's why up till now, probably we are not refining. But Tema Oil Refinery technical specification really meets our oil, because ours is light crude oil, just like Nigeria. Yeah.
Let's talk about what can and should be done to ensure the figure doesn't get to 8 cities, so that the fuel prices don't break the 8.
So as I said, ESLA is there.
Should we remove ESLA?
No.
What should we do with it?
The monies that have been accrued in ESLA,
use it to cushion.
To cushion, and therefore you can then cushion the importers, so that the pump is free.
Okay, that's one.
The other one is the fact that I said we are having now the converse, where we are benefiting more from the crude oil prices, and therefore shave a bit of it to also support the ex-pump.
Is there a tax removal that can be done completely? Is there any of the taxes on the price that you think should be removed completely?
Well, with the taxes, they can only treat it. But because taxes are normally passed in Parliament, it will mean that going back all over again. So I've given you 2 ways by which they can cushion the people. But the easier one to also remove or to cut is the bust margin.
That should be managed. You think that
should be something that I would want it to be at 4 pesos per liter.
What is the consequence of the price of petrol or diesel hitting 8 cedis by March?
Well, it will mean that inflation, which is now recorded as 9% to 9.5%, is going to shoot up. And therefore, it will affect all goods and services, including the trotros for the ordinary people. So it's going to be very hard.
So trotro fares will go up. Yes. Commercial, and they have been, actually the GPRTU has been asking government to reduce prices of fuel.
Yes.
The last time they staged a strike, I'm not sure if you've seen that before, where commercial bus drivers will say, we are not going to pick passengers today, we are protesting, want government to reduce the price of petrol. That notwithstanding, the figures are still where they are, and they're actually going up.
So that's adamancy, and then we must have governments that are a listening government.
This is Face to Face on City TV. I hope you are listening to us. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. My guest is Honorable Moses Asaga. He's former CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, former Member of Parliament, former Deputy Minister for Finance. When we come back, we'll talk about the finance sector. Fitch, Moody's, S&P, plus the IMF. Should we or should we not go? Don't worry.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back to Face to Face on City TV. My name is Omar Sandamado. My guest is the Honorable Moses Asaga. He's former NPA boss, former member of parliament, former deputy minister for finance. And that's where I'm going to take it from. You were deputy minister to Sipayanki, George Sipayanki.
No, George, to Kwame Petrol.
Forgive me, Kwame
Yes.
Petrol, yes.
And
Sipayanki
was a director for legal.
Yes.
Yes.
Forgive me, I'm mixing Kwame Petrol and Sipayanki because of the cutting gate.
Yeah.
If you were still a deputy minister of finance or minister for finance, before I ask you for solutions, what seems to be the problem? Our ratings don't look good. Aside even the ratings that have just been recently announced, the economy generally doesn't look good. What seems to be the problem?
Well, I think that first of all, let's look at what is the situation. I believe that from 2017 to 2020, they tried to stabilize the economy and try to now move to growth level. But maybe because of some distorted policies, and especially because of our borrowing spree, it has really distorted the economy. So if you look currently, inflation, which probably previously was like about 6 to 7%, is heading towards 9.5% thereabout. And the CD, which was touted to be very stable, and especially by the words of the vice president, that when your CD currency is depreciating, then you are exposed because your fundamentals
will be weak.
Would be very weak. So today, if you look at it, the fundamentals are very weak, very weak. I've talked about the depreciation, which previous 3 years was maybe 4 cedis per dollar, is today about 6.5 there. Inflation has inched up. Then if you look at the debt to expenditure ratios, they have all moved up. Even the Bank of Ghana policy rate, which they wanted a target of 11%, is today 14%. So therefore, if you go for lending, and then you have the commercial banks putting in 500 basis points, which is about 5%, then lending to the businesses would now be between 19 to 20 to 21. So if you look at all this, then the fundamentals are not working well. And that is why Fitch has come to say that no, with this kind of overburdening debt, which is almost 350 billion Ghana cedis, both for domestic and external, then you can't make it.
But you need to go for loans. That's something all of you have done in the past. They are not really sinful to go for, are they?
Yeah. I think that the debt overhang that we have is because within a short period between 2017 to 2019, they really went in for loans. And they floated a number of Euro bonds, So all those were medium term to long term. So they had the external one, which was the Euro bonds. Then they had the government bonds also, managed by Bank of Ghana. So it is all this that have accumulated to the 350 billion cedis that I'm talking about. So it means that our debt burden is unsustainable. So right now, Ghana cannot really go onto the international market to say that they want to borrow.
We are not attractive.
We are not attractive. And even the bonds that we had floated, if today you want to buy the Ghana bonds, whether the international one or even the domestic one, you have to buy it at a discount. So instead of a bond rating of 100%, you are now going to talk of 70%. So it means that their doors are really closed up for external funding or financing. And there are two types of external financing. You have the bilateral financing, you have the multilateral financing, and the private sector financing. And as we have seen, we are no longer attractive to the private sector financing. So where can we then go to? We have to go to our bilaterals and also our multilaterals. And this is where they don't think they need to touch. And I'm surprised.
Which ones are those?
Which ones are
the bilateral that you talked about?
Oh yes, for the bilaterals, let's say we have a bilateral relationship with the UK. So you can go and negotiate bilateral loan agreements. CEDA is there, you know, and any other countries.
And if you keep doing that, won't you go under the HIPIC again?
Yes, the good thing about those ones is that first, they are long term, they have grace periods, and their interest rates are manageable, and then they are lower. So that can cushion you for a time being. And that is what they should now also be looking at.
But the government seems to have an appetite for the bond market. Is that a good strategy?
Yes, but that bond market, and you know, Honorable Kenoforata is a professional colleague. And I know where his strengths are. He's very good in investment banking and transaction advisory.
So he always relies on that.
So I can know where he's coming from because we work together. I was in Ecobank and he was in Data Bank. You know, so the expertise in the loan market is so good that he will be able to always raise the funding. But you cannot use external private sector funding alone for your economy.
This government, and when it was an opposition party, campaigned that it was going to move the country from taxation to production. They, for all intents and purposes, wanted to really do that. They have come in with the one factory, one district, one factory, and all of these projects that they said they were going to initiate. All these notwithstanding, we are running into the doldrums. Is it the case that our national economy itself cannot and will not and does not support production, and for that matter, we have to then return to taxation, which they have now relied heavily on instead of what they were preaching?
Yes, the ideas were good, but they were very ambitious, and they needed to cost this one district, one factory, and even the $1 million one district.
One constituency.
You know, yes. And I believe in one of the exposés, I believe BBC or whatever was interviewing the current president and told him, how are you going to finance this your ambitious project?
Free SHS.
Yes. And he didn't have figures. But because this was a promise, you know, they tried to do it. So for me, they have good ideas, but they didn't put a thought to it to see how they were going to finance it.
So if things were stable before you left, and we know that they may have accrued so much debt, but before they left, there were debts. And we know that we always use our national revenue to service our debts and also pay compensations. Now, can they really be entirely blamed for the ballooning debt? Because your government left behind debts as well, didn't you?
I think there was a recent analysis of debt from Kwame Nkrumah up to NDC. And I think the figure I remembered was maybe about 50 billion, you know. And it is also calculated that the debt between 2017 to today probably is about 3 times the total debt that we had in all the administrations. So the appetite for debt, you know, has been very, very, very serious with this government because of the ambitious projects.
But if there are tangibles to show for it, would that be pardonable?
Well, the tangibles should be productive tangibles. So if you don't show me productive tangibles.
So if they show you free SHS and say that for the first time in our history, we have educated more people than we have in the past, that's tangible.
Yeah, that's tangible. But when you educate people, you are leading them that they should get very good employment. So have you been able to meet that?
Yeah, but you're empowering them with education primarily.
But education, at the end of it, especially me and Osafo Ken and Co., we want our children to get this good education and there should be jobs that they can apply themselves to. So the target for good quality education and mass education is not to just keep them to get those WASI, and that is the end of it. People must come out from universities and get employed.
They make the case that when you were there, you didn't even have the chance to employ people. I mean, you didn't give it out. You were Minister for Employment. Yeah. Employment problems having been solved in the past, you never succeeded in solving employment. Why?
So that is why when you've not been to the kitchen, don't blame your mother for the food that he brings.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Umar Sandaman. My guest is a former Minister, Deputy for Finance, and former MP. He was also former boss at the National Petroleum Authority. So we are still looking at the economy. The ratings agencies, have they been unfair and not charitable to the government? The government holds that view.
No, I think that the rating agencies have been very fair. Because if you look at from 2018 to 2020, both S&P, Moody's, and even Fitch, they were giving them B positive, triple Bs, and the rest. So they have been very, very fair. The rating agencies are like a referee, just like the IMF. But these ones are referees in the private sector. So for me, it is just a reflection of the distortions of the fundamentals. And they must take it and say, let's work rather than argue about it. Because when they were giving fairly good ratings, they did not come out to say that, no, our ratings have superseded what we are supposed to have had.
But if they are doing these ratings and they say we don't look good, how does that affect the ordinary man? Explain it to someone who is in Napdown or in Pusiga, how the ratings by Fitch or Moody's affect them.
Yeah, this, for example, now, it means if we are going to borrow on the international market, the interest rate will be very high, you know, and these interest rates are passed on to consumers at the end of the day. Yes.
So these ratings just mean that we will not be able to borrow.
It tells
which is a good thing. Or?
Yeah, it tells you that, look, it's like a barometer. It's telling you that, look, where you are going to, a time would come when nobody will be interested in investing either in your country, or you cannot get loans from the international markets. And if you look at all the middle-income countries, they have all this space for the international markets, you know, because of the way they have managed their economy. And a step to this, I believe that the government should be doing some consultations. And
consulting who?
People like me.
Okay.
Yes, and others.
Okay.
Because, look, when President Kufuor was president, and all of them are there, they can attest to it. Most of them were ministers. Anytime Osafo Mafo or late Honorable Bauredu was to come and read a budget, I would always be invited to Akosombo to spend one night with the minister and to say, this is what we are thinking. What is your opinion? And at the end of the day, I'll give some few suggestions, but I'll also tell them that I can't give you all my ammunition. So let's meet in Parliament. So that was quite reasonable.
But Osafo is still around, so how
yes,
come
yeah.
that's
so
not
now
happening?
ask Honorable Ken Oforata that me being his friend, has he ever one day even picked a telephone call to call Moses Asaga? He has not done so.
It doesn't happen.
No, it hasn't happened.
How about your colleagues? Maybe they consult someone else.
No, because those my colleagues see me as a senior.
Yeah, so maybe they consult the one who was finance minister when you were there. Maybe Kwabena Dufo and so on.
No. Kwabena Dufo, if so, would not have that his fiscal policy this thing, which is always at variance with government budget. So they need to do some bit of consultation. Even our time, in 2015, thereabout, we did the Senchi consensus, and we invited some of them to come.
They boycotted?
Yeah, they boycotted, but we had shown that we were ready to do consultation. So it was Kwame Pianim who was there and moderated the whole meeting.
What does the economy need now? This economy, what does it need to recover?
Well, I think that this economy, we need some space. And what is that space? We need to go to the IMF.
We must?
We must. Because, look, we are entitled to IMF support. It's not like we are begging for it. We are a member of the IMF and we have shareholding percentages. Similarly, we are a member of the World Bank and similarly African Development Bank. So these are what I call the multilaterals. So it's not like it is something like we are going to beg to now be considered. It is our right. So if it is my right and I can reduce it into basics, if my father has his ban with millet and I also have my ban with millet and my millet goes down,
you're going to fetch your father's own.
I will go to my father's and say that, look, things are difficult. Why should I be so arrogant and say I won't go for my father's millet in the ban for them to cook for the compound? So the IMF is there. But before I go to my father's millet ban, I must be very disciplined for him to know that, look, if he gives me some millet,
you will not recklessly spend it.
I will not recklessly spend the millet.
So practically, that's how you have put it. Another practical part is when you say when the economy needs space, we need more money to push into the system.
Yeah, we need more soft money.
Okay.
To put into the system.
What is soft money?
Soft money means that interest rates are almost nil or at LIBOR or below LIBOR.
Okay.
The grace period of 5 years would be there. So for 5 years, those particular loans, you are not going to service them. They are medium to long term.
So we go for, say, 1 billion from IMF,
and
we are guaranteed that for the next 5 years we are fine. But it's a future debt. That still adds to
Yes, but because the interest rates there are lower, you can always spread it so that it will be manageable. Everything about an economy is managing it. You know, yes, and then you survive.
If that doesn't happen, what is the consequence? Because the government has said they are not going to the IMF.
Yes, but that is not correct. And government is not for all Ghanaians.
They said they will not fall for your trap, and that you went to the IMF and you came back and you were running a very stringent system. You were almost,
but that is what now they are left with.
Prevented from breathing. You couldn't employ people and so on.
But now they went for the otherwise, and today we are back to it. And I think that we should be prudent and intellectually honest enough to say that, look, we didn't know it could be like this.
Are you not just saying this so that you can say that, well, say, we told you so, and here you are finally gone to IMF, now we are all the same?
No.
Because they have vowed that they will never go to IMF.
But why should you vow? I mean, you are here for an 8-year term, irrespective of what will happen in 2024 or 2025. You have your term. Why should you sacrifice your term for my children and my grandchildren? Do the right thing now.
Are they not rather saving your grandchildren by not putting an extra debt burden on them?
Yeah, but now it's stifling productivity, it's stifling the economy. It's better for me to have a relief for 5 years than to die in 5 years.
Is there not a better way to shake up this system or free it up without necessarily going to the IMF?
But how can you free it up? What have been their proposal?
Well, they have talked about the local approach, which is the e-levy.
Yes, but the e-levy is also going to be a suffocation.
Is it? Because...
Yes, because e-levy would have its attendant problems and challenges. I'm not saying that e-levy should not come on, but there should be consultation.
You support e-levy?
I support e-levy to the extent that there should be consultation, 1. 2, the rate should be drastically lowered, because we've seen it in Uganda, we've seen it in other countries. Their e-levy is 0.2%. Another country is 0.1%.
What percentage would you want for Ghana?
Well, if I were to be going for it, I would be looking at 0.5%, but with consultation.
Less than 1%. That's less than 1%.
Yes, that's less than 1%.
That will not serve any purpose for you.
Okay, fine. but that's what we can give to them.
Because even with 1.75, they are targeting 6.9 billion.
Yeah, so that's why they must go to IMF, because your own economy cannot sustain the revenue that you want.
Aren't there other places you can tax aside the mobile phone, the petrol? Which other areas? You are the finance person. Which areas could they? I mean, and I'm saying that in case they decide, for IMF, we are not going.
Then
and
we have no other
that they have to do e-levy.
Because corporate tax has a limit. Look at the myriad of duties that they placed at the port, and still there is no financing. So it's tight. So look, it is IMF. And if they bulldoze their way with their 1.75%, I think that it will really create some problems in the country.
Actually, that's what I'm going to come to. When we come back, I'll talk to him about the e-levy, the attempt to pass it in Parliament. He has been a senior member of the House 16 years. How does he, if he were in government, would he have navigated this complex mess? Because you have a House that is divided evenly and you want to pass through with a controversial bill. How would you do it? How would it succeed? What advice would he give to the NPP MPs and the NPP government and his own party, NDC? Is it time they change their position on the e-levy? Don't go away.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and Star Times box. City TV, it's your world.
You're welcome back to Face on the City TV. In the concluding discussion, so the former President John Mahama, your flag bearer, is making a wide array of proposals to the government, but he's key on having internal discussions. I believe you that's something you would agree with, but when you talk about the Senchi consensus, which is what he's subtly proposing, what really came out of that consensus? How has it benefited us?
Well,
for which reason this government should approach that?
The consensus at least gave us some additional ideas, which we try to implement.
Is it ideas we need or money?
I'm coming. For example, the e-blocks that we started to build. At one point, we were like, should we continue with it? At the consensus, they said, look, this is the best thing to give technical education to the mass of Ghanaians who are always attending grammar schools. So we continued with it, and then we built several e-schools. So that was one fruitful lesson that we learned from there.
From Senchi.
From Senchi. Even if we took only that one, it's good enough, you know. So the consultation is very important. And again, I will come to...
Who should they consult?
Yes, so let me make this point. I believe that the Honorable Minister of Finance should know the people he must consult. When I was Deputy Minister of Finance, Ghana wanted to offload in those days their 30% of Ashanti gold fields. It was Honorable Ken Ofurata that was taken as a Ghanaian that will come and assist the NDC so that we can see how we can manage our 30% of loading of Ashanti gold fields and how to place them on the New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, and the South African Stock Exchange. I used to meet Ken at Castle to discuss these issues. And he is the one who will lead delegations to London on behalf of us. So even though it was a commercial transaction, Ken, as I'm calling him for now, should not think that we didn't know he was MPP. Because his father was Dr. John Soforata, the PFP Deputy Finance Minister. But we felt that he had the expertise, and he's a Ghanaian. So Honorable Ken Ofurata should also bring that to bear now and say that who are the people that we should be consulting.
So he should know the people. You are not going to advise him and say, go to this person.
He knows the people. We have been peers. Where have Ken worked that I haven't also worked? As I said, me and him were scheduled partners. I was in EcoBank and he was. We did all the flotations of some of the companies that are on the stock exchange.
But you are left. He's right.
Yeah, but we were together. Why is it that I brought a right person to assist during the transaction for Ashanti Goldfields?
Maybe there's no knowledge in the NDC that I should go and...
But we could have gone to rent expertise. It's easy.
Yeah, we have brought some South Africans to assist us at the Ministry of Finance. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes, but that is wrong because they don't have the domestic experience.
Yeah, but you said he should go and rent. He was going to rent.
That's why I'm saying that we could have gone to rent, but we felt that a Ghanaian should assist to do it.
I see.
Yes.
The e-levy is a controversial one. We have seen a walkout. We have seen fisticuffs. We don't know what's going to happen next, and the numbers are very crucial in this particular time. I want you to give advice to the government, which is bent on pushing the e-levy through, and the NDC, which is bent on preventing the e-levy from going through. If you were still Deputy Minister of Finance, what would you have been doing?
Especially if I was still also in Parliament, I would have been asking for the consultations. I wouldn't want where a surprise is brought onto the business program for the day without the minister having done the consultation, if not for the whole house, but at least for the finance committee. You know, it makes people feel that I've been regarded. You know, but when you don't do that and you come in a macho manner, then people too would want to be belligerent. And I think that is what the situation is.
If you were at the finance ministry and say you were a finance minister, would you still be hell-bent on pushing the e-levy through?
I would not be hell-bent in pushing, but what I would do is that I would rather do the consultation.
They are doing the consultation now.
Well,
they are doing town hall meetings. And
no, that's not the kind of, because town hall people will not go to Parliament to vote.
But you need to involve the
Ghanaian
population.
Yes, the town hall is to let them understand. But just as they are doing town hall meetings, the NDC too is doing town hall meetings. So again, it comes back to Parliament. And then it needs that high level.
So they are targeting the wrong people?
Both are targeting the wrong people.
I see.
Yes.
What about the NDC? Would you talk to the NDC and tell them that they should slow down because government needs money to function?
Yes, but we've given them alternatives. We've given them, they should soften their stance. I today have said that, look, it should be a graduated approach, even if they want the E-level. And I'm telling you that some other countries like Cameroon is 0.2, Cote d'Ivoire is 0.1, what is it called? Uganda is about 0.1. So why can't they learn from these countries and say, let's start from somewhere, but very, very low?
But your party's position is not as if we are willing for a reduction. They simply want the whole thing scrapped. That's not fair. Yes. And again, there are critics who say you are treating the government unfairly because you have the numbers in the house. You are making governance impossible for them.
No, I don't think so.
You're holding them to ransom.
No, I don't think so. It just needed that respect, the consultation, and I'm still asking you whether has Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta ever picked a phone to call me.
But how about the leaders of the house? Surely he would have been meeting them.
No, who are the leaders? So everything is at the backstage.
There was a meeting between Gabi Oshodaku and President Mahama.
Oh, you want me to reveal?
Yes, please. I would be happy.
Yes, I got also...
visited?
No, I got a prompt that where can we meet? And I responded, and the meeting has never come on.
Gabi requested a meeting with you?
Yes.
He wanted to discuss e-levy with you?
Yes, I suppose so.
And this was before John Mahama's meeting or after?
Immediately after, at dawn.
Why do you think it stopped?
I wouldn't now know.
Are you worried that you've not been consulted in these matters? And you're not being consulted by the government?
I'm free. You know, I've told you what I've been doing.
Are you going to do this consultancy for free or you collect money?
Which one?
Any consultancy that Ken Ofori-Atta...
Oh, no, very, very free.
You're not going to charge
money? Not at all.
Maybe because the ex-gratia that they paid you is finished, so you want more?
No, not at all.
That's not the case?
Not at all. I'm so free-flowing. I'm happy, you know. I meet people. I give them free ideas, you know. Yeah.
Is Moses Asaga going to go back to Parliament?
Never.
You are done?
Ever.
You are done?
Very done.
What else is left for you in politics?
Oh, in politics, for example, you could be a minister.
So you could do that?
I could do that.
You could be a running mate?
Yes, the running mate situation is because with my colleague and good friend and family friend, that is John Mahama, during his period and immediately after, I don't think I would want that. If I wanted it, I would have competed with him for vice president.
But it's not something you can compete for. You can't compete for vice president. You are chosen by the candidate.
But again, some of us also encouraged him and said he was the most suitable candidate at that time.
So for now, the highest you can go to is minister?
Minister, board, maybe council of state.
Advising.
Advising.
Do you not think that there could be some other person to lead you as a flag bearer? You keep mentioning John Mahama. You don't?
Oh, no. For now, and the timing, it is His Excellency, the former president, who can lead us to win 2024.
No one else?
No one else.
Not Kwabena Duffuor?
Oh, but Kwabena Duffuor is my friend. And if he has anything to do, I think he even needs to call me and say, Moses, what are your ideas?
You really like to be called.
Because I've put a lot in NDC. You remember 2008, there were two budgets that I criticized. The first one, whether it's 2006, 2007, I said this was a Kosciuszko budget. Then 2008, I came and dubbed the President Kufuor's budget as the Wahala budget. And at that time in Ghana, nobody knew why should this budget be called Wahala budget. And Professor Mills and His Excellency John Mahama and Rawlings, we all participated in the Wahala budget demonstration. And it tipped off and we won the election.
You believe you can win 2024?
Yes.
And you believe it should be John Mahama?
Yes.
If Kwabena Duffuor is watching you now, what would you say to him if he wants to run?
I'll say, Kwabena, you are my friend. I come to your house. We sit down. We are always together. How come that in the last 6 months, you've not been talking to me?
He has not been talking to you?
Yes.
So he shouldn't run because of that?
No, not that. Because we are mainstream politicians. Yes.
He is not?
I don't think so.
So he
has a lot to offer to the party. And I've always insisted that nobody should be an obstacle to Dr. Kwabena Duffuor if he's talking to the NDC and gaining visibility. His visibility may not necessarily be to be a presidential candidate, but it can be. He's also building.
What about Kwesi Bochwe?
Oh, Kwesi Bochwe, he's now a bit older, and then he has told us in confidence he just wants to retire and be an advisor.
You just spill the beans on Face to Face. Thank you for speaking to us, Honorable.
It's a pleasure.
That's Honorable Moses Asaga. He's former Member of Parliament for NAPDAM, former Deputy Minister for Finance, former CEO of NPA. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu, current host of Face to Face on City TV. Please watch us because this is your world.